Hi everyone, my name is Melissa van Dijk, and in today's video I want to talk about whether you really need to reapply sunscreen over your makeup. Because that's something you often hear online, but when you think about it, it doesn't really make sense in real life. Now, you've probably seen many dermatologists or influencers online saying you should reapply your sunscreen every 2 hours, even on top of your makeup. But this idea actually comes from lab testing, and it was only meant to follow the rules set within those controlled environments. It was never meant for makeup. In the lab, sunscreen is applied on bare skin, under constant and direct UV light, and in precisely measured amounts. And under those conditions, sunscreen can start to lose some of its effectiveness after about 2 hours, usually around a 20 to 30% drop in protection, depending on the type and intensity of exposure. So the every 2 hour rule makes perfect sense there, especially if you want to keep that full protection going. Now, what happened over time is that this rule kind of turned into a safety guideline for dermatologists. It's not that they're wrong, it's simply the safest and best advice to give today based on what happened in those lab conditions. But the problem is, it was never really adapted to everyday life or to people who wear makeup. It's a great rule for situations like being outdoors all day, at the beach or hiking. There it becomes really important, and I highly recommend following it. But for normal daily life, it just doesn't always apply. Because if you've applied enough in the morning, most of that protection is still there, especially if you haven't been excessively sweating, rubbing your face, or wiping it off. And to be honest, in reality, most of us aren't sitting under intense UV light all day, especially not while wearing makeup. So if you put on your foundation, concealer, powder, and so on, you're probably not planning to spend the whole day in the hot sun, because your makeup would melt anyway. And if you did do that for whatever reason and spend hours outside, you probably have to redo your makeup at some point. And when you do, that's when you can simply reapply your sunscreen underneath again, properly. So essentially you would start all over, but by that time you're probably already inside and taking it off. Of course, you could do some touch-ups if you notice small areas that need it, for example using a bit of SPF mist or powder around the nose, forehead, or wherever you may feel the need. But that's more of a light refresh, not a full reapplication. So generally speaking, the idea of reapplying sunscreen on top of makeup just doesn't fit how we actually live our days. Now you may wonder why this advice keeps spreading. Well, I think that first of all, it's mostly because dermatologists wanted to stay true to the lab data, which is a good thing, but not always practical in real life. And of course, the other side, which probably is the biggest factor, is that beauty brands saw an opportunity to create and sell products like SPF mists and powders that claim to make reapplication easier. Now, those products can help a little bit, but remember that they don't give you the same level of protection as a proper reapplication of your sunscreen. So it's not that the advice is wrong, it's just that it's been taken out of context. It made sense in a laboratory or beach setting, but not for someone who is wearing makeup and mostly indoors. So if you spend your day mostly inside, apply the recommended amount of sunscreen properly in the morning, then put on your makeup and do some touch-ups if needed. And for the rest, enjoy your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Happy skincaring!